Rise up, everybody. Good afternoon, morning, afternoon, or evening, depending on what time you guys are watching this or listening to this. I'm Owen Hillman alongside Grant Hillman. We're officially at the start of the 2026 to 2027 season here at the Gritz Blitz podcast. We're starting off with a Hall of Fame to get game today at 8 p.m. Grant, how excited are you to finally start this NFL season, finally start this season of coverage?
My gosh, man. Every single year, I forget how long this stretch of summer is where we've got nothing but baseball. Oh my gosh, it feels so good to see football on the horizon again. I mean, here I am excited about a Kenny Pickett, Carson Beck football game, but we're right there, man. And then college is going to be right around the corner right after that. And then we move on to the regular season, man. I'm so hyped.
Yeah, we've got so much coverage coming up for you for Falcons football and Georgia football. But first, we're going to start off with our futures episode. This is where we take a look at some of the best player props, some of the over-unders in the team, and some of what we like as MVP picks. Over-unders are going to be provided. All the bets are going to be provided by FanDuel Sportsbook. Please make sure to gamble responsibly and call 1-800-522-4700 for gambling addiction. That is 1-800-522-4700 for gambling addiction. But let's get started with the AFC East and the Buffalo Bills. Their over-under is about 10 and a half. Josh Allen and James Cook coming back. They got a new coach. They don't have any receiver player props, but the Bills win total standing at 10 and a half. Do you think it's worth cashing in? And which one of these players do you think has the best prop out of this group?
So, with Buffalo, it's a little bit hard. You've got actually a pretty tough schedule. Let me pull up the Buffalo Bill schedule here just so I can kind of go through it. You've got obviously the Patriots are no longer a team to be or the team to be worried about. Now, after of course making the Super Bowl last year, on top of that though, you still have the Jets and the Dolphins. So to me, if Buffalo wants to get at that 10 and a half, they need to sweep those cupcake division rivals. But you're playing Houston, you're playing Detroit, you're playing the Rams, you're playing the Ravens, and even a team like Minnesota, which I don't think Buffalo should have a problem with, but still, a team out there. You get a rematch with the Broncos too. I mean, it's not an easy schedule. Definitely not. That being said, Owen and I were talking about this earlier. The Bills always manage to find a way to squeak out at least 10 wins. But I wouldn't personally bet on that win total. I just wouldn't kind of touch it at all because I don't know. I mean, Buffalo is they can be all over the place, especially with Sean McDermott's absence, and also they really haven't done enough to address the receiver room still. And then on top of that, I'd say for the player props, I like James Cook over on touchdowns, which is at 10 and a half. I don't know. I mean, I think James Cook is a touchdown merchant. He's definitely provided those stat lines before, so I don't see why this year would be any different.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a huge fan of any of these player props personally. I mean, maybe the Josh Allen. If Josh Allen like a rushing yard prop, I'd probably take that or rushing touchdown prop. Always
Yeah.
very active at the ground. And I'm also probably gonna not touch this over under for the Buffalo Bills. I mean, maybe
Yeah.
even veer towards under, but I think like their floor is probably 10 wins. I mean, yeah, you mentioned their schedule pretty difficult. They have to go on the road to Minnesota. That's never easy. They have to go on the road to Green Bay and then at New England. They have four road games out of their five final games, or their six final games, and they also have to play Chicago and New York at the end of the year, which, the
Yeah.
Jets, not exactly not exactly a heavyweight opponent over there. But yeah, you're right.
Well,
They
yeah, I
do
mean,
need to
Chicago
sleep.
could
They
be the
do need to
problem.
sweep those opponents as well. They cannot really try to they can't afford a loss to Miami this year, I don't think. Speaking of which, let's go on to the Dolphins. Their over-under win total sits at 4.5, which is near, I believe it's dead last in the entirety of football right now. They
Yeah.
don't have a Malik Willis passing prop on FanDuel yet, but Devon Achane's one is at 975.5 yards. I really like that. But overall, the Dolphins sitting at 4.5 wins. Do you think the Dolphins are a sneaky bet to go over that win total this season?
To be honest with you, no.
Mm.
I would save your money or, perhaps maybe call that hotline we were putting up earlier. 4.5 wins. I mean, I don't know. I can't. I mean, if they can squeak out a win week one against Vegas and maybe split with the Jets, those are really the only two games I'm giving them. I mean, look, you've got After Vegas, you go San Francisco, Kansas City, Minnesota, Cincinnati. I don't see a world where they beat Cincinnati, even though I'm not high on Cincinnati. You got to play New England, Detroit, Indy. Obviously, you got to play Buffalo, Denver, Chicago, Green Bay, the Chargers. Like, this is brutal. They have the absolute gauntlet to play through. And I can only really see them splitting with the Jets. I don't know if they're outright good enough to sweep them because, I mean, the Jets aren't as half bad as, maybe they were last year. But yeah, dude, no, I would take the under if I was a betting man, but definitely not
Yeah.
the over.
I agree. I think I'd take the under in this one as well. I mean, I just recently watched that franchise guy, his Miami Dolphins preview, and he nailed it. Like the Dolphins Jets game is not really a gimme for the Dolphins. Like I think
No.
they do split that series. And he also mentioned a point. The Dolphins usually surprise people at the beginning of the season with playing in the hot weather, playing in that Miami sun. The Dolphins usually were able to get some early wins in the Mike McDaniel tenure. I remember the Baltimore and Buffalo games in 2022. But they play the Jets on the road, Indy on the road, and Buffalo on the road in their first six games. The only home games they have are New England, Detroit, and the Jets for their first six. And then most of their home games are in the back end of the season. So that doesn't bode well, I think, for Miami. That doesn't bode well for Miami. The fact that they have so many road games at the beginning of the year, including the Las Vegas Raiders. On to the New England
Mhm.
Patriots. Their over-under win total about the exact same as the Bills at 10.5. And not to mention Drake
Mhm.
May's passing prop is actually 150 yards higher than Josh Allen, who won the league MVP last year.
Interesting.
Also 25 and a half passing touchdowns. Travion Henderson and AJ Brown have some pretty modest numbers. I mean, but looking at that, which one of these player props is the most favorable to you?
I actually like Travion Henderson over on yards. I think 700 and a half, considering that he was not, he was sharing a lot of touches last year, which, he still might be sharing touches this year. But I think that Travion Henderson is definitely ascended to that point where I think a lot of people consider him to be RB1 in New England. With 700 and a half, I mean, I think he's going to at least get 900. So I would definitely take the over on that. That being said, I do think that New England's a big target for regression this year. That schedule that we were all talking about last year, it's not going to be the same this year. You've got a little bit tougher of a schedule. But yeah, I mean, I still think that Travion Henderson over on yards would be my safest bet there.
Yeah, I don't really like any of the New England's player props as well. Maybe AJ Brown is worth looking at. AJ Brown
Yeah,
seems to have chemistry wherever he goes with this quarterback, especially in year one. You saw how Ryan Tannehill performed in 2019, Jalen Hurts in 2022. I think I could see that with Drake May as well. And the Travion Henderson bet looks pretty good as well, considering
yeah,
last season he had, I believe, 900 rushing yards. Yeah, 911 rushing yards and 180 carries. So he's clearly the best back in that field. So both of those are very appetizing.
yeah.
But yeah, the Pats just seem very overvalued by Vegas. I don't know why 10 and a
Agreed.
half seems very high. I mean, maybe they know something that I don't.
Agreed.
Maybe the schedule decently friendly, but I don't know. I'm not taking that. On to the New York Jets. Their over-under is about 5.5. They have plus 810 to make the playoffs. So I guess you would make money if you think the Jets would make the playoffs first time in what, 13 seasons, 15 seasons? It's been a while for them. But looking at the win total, do you think that's a sneaky bet for this Jets team?
You know, uh, I I don't really. I mean, that division, it's tough. You've got realistically, you're going to get swept by Buffalo and by New England, unless somehow the Jets manage to squeak out a crazy win against either of them. I do like this Jets team more than I think most people do. I have said it before. I don't think Geno Smith is the worst quarterback in the NFL by any means. I don't think he's amazing, but I think that his tenure in Vegas is not a good. It doesn't really show the true quarterback that he is. I think that he can maybe make a splash on this New York team. By a splash, I mean being an average quarterback. But overall, I would feel more comfortable if the line was at 4.5 with their schedule. And then if I were to take my yeah, I don't know. I would probably stick to I wouldn't bet on the over on that.
I think I might, honestly. Like that seems like a pretty interesting over-under. Like 5.5. Like I think the Jets can probably win about 6 games, maybe 7 games with this schedule. I mean, they do have to play on the road at Detroit and Chicago to start off, and they have to play Green Bay. They play Tennessee, Green Bay, Detroit, and Chicago are the first four games. But as long as they can win against Cleveland, as long as they could split
Yeah.
against Miami, they have Vegas, they have the Raiders at home, they have
Yeah,
Buffalo at
that's true.
home, which, that defense could, if that defense could get going under Aaron Glenn, that could be something. Maybe I'm betting a little
Yeah.
bit too high on Aaron Glenn, and the schedule does look rough on the back end, but I think I could see them
Yeah.
kind of squeaking out 6 wins. They're probably better than the Cardinals, better than the
Yeah,
Dolphins,
that I agree with.
maybe better than the
Definitely.
Raiders. Like they play Cleveland at home. If they just win that game against Tennessee, then I could definitely see them getting about 6 wins. Um,
Yeah. And the other thing is a team like Minnesota maybe is not going to, especially towards the end of their year, be playing where we think they're going to be playing. So there's a chance that the Jets could even steal a game from someone like them.
yeah, especially if Kyler Murray is hurt at the end of the year, like he usually is.
Yeah, that's
And
exactly what I'm inferring.
yeah, you might have to start they might have to start JJ McCarthy against New York, and
Oh
that's in New
God.
York. So that could
Oh
be
God.
spoiler the Vikings. Well, uh, if they potentially are in the playoff conversation. We'll go more on that later. But on the division, the Bills are the favorite to win the division. They have a minus 136 to win the division. The Patriots not too far behind them at plus 125. And then it's a gaping chasm afterward. The New York Jets at 1,900 and the Dolphins at 4,000. The Patriots, yeah, I know, right? Such a wide chasm in that front.
Yeah,
But the
that's
Patriots at
tempting.
125, that looks like the Patriots could be at a close spot with the Buffalo Bills. What do you think it takes for the
Yeah.
Patriots that to look good or for them to win that division, you think?
To me, as crazy it is to say this, considering that they literally made the Super Bowl last season, I still need to see a little bit more out of New England that they can kind of hang with those big guys. I think that their schedule last year was legitimately very easy, and they did take. I mean, didn't they sweep Buffalo, or did they just split with them?
I believe they just split with Buffalo. They lost them at the end of
Okay,
the
but they
year, but they
still
won week 5.
they took a game for Buffalo.
Hmm.
That was a New England team that kind of came out of nowhere. But I need to see a little bit more out of them still. I'm worried about Drake May maybe kind of starting to regress this season. I'm not saying that I think he is, but this tends to happen. We know this. The sophomore slump, although, it's a little bit different because this is going into his third year. And then also, I need to see a major step up from AJ Brown. Obviously, the assumption around the league is that the Philadelphia system was not helping AJ Brown whatsoever. And I agree to that to an extent. But I still need to see a huge step up from AJ Brown before I take this Patriots team as a legitimate Super Bowl contender. The receiving room without him is lackluster, and if he played anything like he did last season, then it's going to continue to be that way. But this is still a young team with a fantastic defense and the MVP um, second place. So I could definitely see this team making a splash.
Yeah, I remember we discussed their offseason about a couple months ago. Be sure to check that episode out, by the way, too, though. But I did like what I saw out of the offseason. I liked that they got Romeo Dobbs. I liked that they got AJ
Yes.
Brown. Kevin Byard was a good get for them, too. I still think that the corner room could definitely use a bit of improvement and probably the pass rush as well. They lost Kalo on Chase on from last season. And
Hmm.
it's also not easy to play Buffalo, and they had a pretty easy schedule last year. This year they play the NFC North and the AFC West. They have to play Kansas City. They have to play the Chargers. Like they have to play the entire fiasco that is the NFC North. All of those games are coin flips to me. So they need to. I think that they need to just hold their own against the NFC North. I think they need to go 3-1 against that stretch of teams. They can win whether it's winning against Chicago, Green Bay, and Minnesota, or like Detroit, Chicago, Green Bay, or like any of one of those. They need to go 3-1 against their interconference opponents because that is going to be very telling if New England has a shot at winning this division or if they're just a plucky wild card team and the Bills get it. But that's why the Bills are the favorite, right? On to the AFC North, on to the Baltimore Ravens. Their over-under win total sits at 11.5, which is actually tied for first with the Los Angeles Rams. Don't mean to spoil it, but that over win total 11.5. Very surprising with the fact that they're moving from John Harbaugh to Jesse Minter. Obviously, they still have Lamar Jackson running the show. Derrick Henry, Vegas expected him to have a very big season. He's got 1,225 yards on his prep. I think it's the highest they've ever seen. But overall, why do you think the odds makers have so much confidence in Derrick Henry, the Baltimore Ravens?
Well, to start out with, I think the one of the biggest issues that Baltimore faced is their division.
Hmm.
Before this year, the Steelers were, even at 9 wins, an extremely, extremely, extremely tough team defensively. Cleveland, same thing. I mean, having to face Myles Garrett twice a year is a nightmare. And Cincinnati, obviously with Trey Hendrickson back then, and maybe Swiss cheese defense, but still a tough team that you have to play twice a year as long as Joe Burrow is their quarterback. I think with how much the AFC North has regressed, I mean, when you got to read between the lines here, like Cleveland was never their issue, but the fact that you didn't have to play Myles Garrett twice a year, not saying that Jared Verse is still not a phenomenal player, but he's not Myles Garrett. He might be one day, but he's not Myles Garrett. To not have to play him twice a year, to not have to play Trey Hendrickson anymore. Obviously, now you have him. I see Baltimore as the team that is really spearheading of the teams built of that same era with Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, Kenny Pickett in Pittsburgh. But all of these, the teams that they were building, it seems like the Lamar Ravens are the only team to really stand up and hold the test of time. So I think for Baltimore, it's a straight path through the division at this point. As for why Derrick Henry's props are that high, dude, I don't know, to be honest with you. I mean, he's one of the best running backs in the league, one of the greatest running backs of all time. But at one point, is Father Time going to catch up with him? Is all I can think.
Yeah, he's 32 years old, but last season still had 1,535 rushing yards,
I mean, my gosh.
1,921 rushing yards in 2024 Baltimore. I mean, he's basically stiff-armed Father Time like he stiff-armed Josh Norman in 2020. Very good at that. But
Yeah, exactly.
I would
Exactly.
find it a little concerning with Henry behind now without Tyler Lindenbaum, that offensive line. Maybe Stanley gets hurt
Right.
too.
A great point.
But to your point, the Ravens don't have to worry about these top tier pass rushers outside of TJ Watt. And so I think their offensive line is actually going to be
Right.
better this season, even with Jesse Minter. And I think their defense could definitely be better. That Jesse Minter specializes in rehabilitating cornerbacks. So getting him for guys like Nate Wiggins and Malachi Starks is going to be huge for Baltimore. And yeah, their schedule is pretty promising as well. They play the AFC South and the NFC South along with regressing Pittsburgh, regressing Cleveland, Cincinnati, who might be fluky. We'll check on them in a minute. But yeah, the Ravens,
Hmm.
I think that the 11 and a half, well, a little high, might be where they're at the end of the year. But I'm not touching it personally. But on to Cincinnati. As Billy Belichick said, over under win total is at 9.5. They have one negative 194 to make the playoffs, so they're favored to make the playoffs. Joe Burrow, their only
Interesting.
stat line for him is at 32 passing touchdowns, which is pretty high. Obviously,
Yeah.
Jamar Chase and T. Higgins have some player props, so is Chase Brown. But how do you feel the Bengals win total after the moves that they've made this past offseason?
I mean, I don't know. This is a tough one. For me, Cincinnati is on my no bet list, first of all.
Hmm.
But the pendulum swings, it feels like every year at this point. It feels like you get one healthy year, Burrow, and then you get 1 year of, oh my God, what is his name? Jake Browning. It keeps swinging. It seems, I mean, all signs are pointing to the fact that they're going to have Joe Burrow this entire season, considering the trend that we're going on. But without Joe Burrow, this team is nothing. Unfortunately, they have so many great weapons on offense, but the defense is just abysmal. It is abysmal. This team has to score so much to catch up. And losing Trey Hendrickson, which I don't hate the move, considering the fact that there's been this whole holdout and him requesting trades and all this stuff. I don't hate the fact that you kind of got to let go. But I just can't get over the fact that this defense is not it.
Yeah, kind of leaves a hole in that edge rushing room. And I mean, they did make some moves over the offseason to fix it. They had Boye Mafe and Brian Cook, and they drafted Cassius Howell, but one of them is going to have to step up in that edge rushing room. Howell is going to have
Right.
to be that guy to get like 10, like maybe 15 sacks for Cincinnati. And they have Dexter Lawrence now, which is great. But I mean, how much can he do on
Right.
this team? I think the Vegas
Forgot about that. My
intentionally put them
gosh. I
at,
completely forgot about that.
yeah, I know. It's been a crazy offseason. But the
Feels
Bengals,
like so long ago.
oh man, yeah, seriously, it's the draft. Yeah, draft was like 4 months ago. It feels like 4 years at this point. But speaking more about the
Yeah.
Bengals, their over/under win total of 9.5 seems intentional, considering in 2024 when they had a healthy season of Joe Burrow, they went 9-8 last year, and they just barely missed out on the playoffs. So 9.5 seems like I think the Bengals could go like 10-7 or 9-8 and make it a close call. So yeah, I'm not confident at all about
Right.
the Bengals win total after the move, even after the moves they made, which honestly have been pretty good, but they lost Trey Hendrickson, and we don't know what we're getting out of Joe Burrow either. And it doesn't seem like Vegas knows either.
Yeah.
But on to the Cleveland Browns. Seems like they're well on their way to finishing last in this division. They have an owner win total of six and a
Right.
half. They don't have any player props for Shador Sanders or Deshaun Watson or any of the quarterbacks they have. Judkins and Casey Conception are the only ones that have them. But is it just best way to stay for the Browns this season in terms of a betting market?
Yes, it is. I'm not gonna bet on a team on their win total. First of all, might be, I don't know. Maybe I'm speaking out of line here, but 6.5 seems a little high for me. No?
Yeah,
That's
no, you're
where
not.
we'll get there, but that's where Atlanta's line is at. And I know that Atlanta and Cleveland are in a similar quarterback situation, but other than that, I feel like I don't know. I don't even want to get into all that now. All I'm gonna say is I feel like that's a little high. I'm not gonna bet on a team's win total when your quarterback race is between Deshaun Watson, who really, in all honesty, should not have touched a football 2 years ago. He's just been absolutely abysmal. Besides ignoring all the other issues that we all have with him, he is also not a good quarterback. And apparently, he's been making a little bit of buzz in camp to the point where people think he's going to be the starter. But I mean, he sucks. Let's just say it as it is. He sucks. And then Shedeur Sanders, who I mean, I hope he develops well into the prospect that people thought he was before he got drafted. But I'm not really confident in his decision making on the field. I'm not. He had as many touchdowns as interceptions last season. It's you can't really take that away, regardless of how athletic he is. So I'm not betting on this at all.
Yeah, I would have bet on it either. I mean, there's one source of optimism with the Cleveland Browns, and that's the fact that they had a fantastic draft, probably the best draft in the league, honestly.
Right.
They've got so many contributors, but
Yeah.
all of those are going to take time, and it doesn't matter we have quarterback play as bad as Deshaun Watson as Shedeur Sanders, and when you're losing Miles
Right.
Garrett as
Agreed.
well. Like that defense in 2023, that defense held them to so many wins against
Yeah.
San Fran,
I
against
mean,
Indy.
last year they beat
Yeah.
Green Bay like 13-10.
Yeah, that defense was incredible last season. And now that Miles Garrett, you're basically your captain of the defense is gone. I mean, no offense
Hmm.
to Jared Verse, but I don't think they can really keep up, unfortunately. So
No.
yeah, definitely stay away from the Browns. Basically all their player props, in my opinion. Conception, maybe, but like he's competing with Denzel Boston for targets. Who knows
Right.
which one of the quarterbacks is going to target who?
Exactly.
So it's a pretty unstable situation in Cleveland. But on to the Steelers, who've had stability for years at a 9-8 or 10-7 record. Their over-under win totals at 8.5 under new head coach Mike McCarthy. Aaron Rodgers about 3,050 for his prop. Michael Pittman at 725.5 receiving yards. Grant, I know you've had a negative opinion on Michael Pittman, so just discuss,
Yeah.
is it worth betting any of these player props for the Steelers?
Nah, I mean, I'd maybe take the under on Aaron Rodgers, which might be crazy because I know at 3,000 is not really a daring prop, but I'm not confident in this offense, to be 100% honest with you. I know that Mike McCarthy, being the quarterback guy that he is going in there, might shake things up a little bit, but I mean, I just don't, as a football fan, I don't like this Pittsburgh team. It's just old and slow and boring, and it worked when you won 9 games with it, but you've taken away the mastermind behind it all, and it's starting to show its cracks. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if TJ Watt hits the trade market in the next year or so, to be 100% honest with you. And what is the point of getting Rodgers for another year when you know your line is at 8.5? We're not talking about 10 wins here. We're talking about 9 wins. It's 8 wins, 7 wins. This is not, I don't know. I don't understand it all. And I'm not really excited to watch them on Sunday. Will I? Yeah. I mean, I'm going to watch any game I can watch, but I'm not excited to watch these Pittsburgh Steelers at all. Just as it is.
Yeah, it seems like the Steelers have like a decent bit of ingredients in the team. Like they tried getting their receiver room better alongside DK Metcalf, the most overpaid receiver
Right.
in the league, with Michael
Yes. My
Pittman.
gosh.
It's bad.
I'm going to get worked up over this. I
Yeah.
don't understand it. You've got like three wide receiver threes or wide receiver twos, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like the joke with the Green Bay Packers all year round about how
Yeah,
their wide receiver
exactly.
twos. Yeah, the Steelers just have a bunch of like overrated wide receiver ones, it looks like.
Right.
And the tight end group is just
Yeah.
okay. Like the back group is okay.
Right.
Like I don't even trust Jalen Warren's over on rushing yards, even at 625, because I think Rico
Right.
Dowdle might be better in that running back room. So yeah, I
Yeah.
think the Steelers,
Agreed.
it's not really worth betting on any of these player props. I think the Steelers like probably get about 8 wins this year, and they probably, I mean, maybe one or 64 to miss the playoffs. I think they're probably going to be just around, sitting around the mid tier. But on to division talks.
Yeah.
Baltimore is currently the favorite at -112. Cincinnati not too far behind them. The Steelers pretty far behind Cincinnati. And the Browns are about Hail Mary throw away from the division. But why do the
Yes.
Bengals have significantly higher odds to win the division than the Steelers, you think?
Um, the answer, I don't want to say just Joe Burrow, but the issue that the Pittsburgh Steelers have actually is on offense, they do not have a single playmaker. They've got some good guys. They've got Rico Dowdle, they got Jalen Warren. And I think getting Rico Dowdle was a great move. And especially moving on from Najee and Jalen Warren kind of developing into the running back that he is. But these guys aren't playmakers. These guys aren't your elite talent, is what I mean to say. They're great players and they're great at what they do, but they are not elite playmakers. Pittsburgh Steelers don't have a single elite playmaker on offense at all. And hell, I mean, I look at this and then I look at Atlanta and I say, at least we've got, some guys that can make splash. I mean, Bijan could have a 1,500 yard season easily. Drake London could have a 1,300 yard season. And this is what we're expecting. And at least we have that over them. And it's like you look at a team like Cincy, who has a lot of holes. I think they're actually the opposite of the Steelers, ironically. But since he's got these guys on offense that can make a difference, and if they're healthy, they will make a difference. They will win them 9 games. They will win them 10 games, maybe. So to me, that's the issue. Pittsburgh needs to stop going the safe route with their offense, and they need to go out and get a guy who can make a splash.
Yeah, the Bengals went out and got Dexter Lawrence during the draft, the 10th overall pick. I mean, that was basically their equivalent of trying to get a splash on the defensive side. And they have Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and underrated running back Chase Brown on the offensive side. So yeah, the Bengals having
Right.
significantly
Chase
higher odds
Brown,
to win the
exactly.
division than the Steelers. I mean, it's just a projection, but it seems like the Bengals are have a higher ceiling. Bengals definitely have a higher ceiling than the Steelers. And if the Steelers win the division, it's probably going to be like 10 and
Yeah.
7 where you see the Ravens. The Ravens kind of
Yeah.
underachieve with Lamar Jackson getting injured, which if Lamar Jackson's healthy for the entire season, the Ravens are once again going to be a 10, 12 win team, 13-win team. So yeah, I
Agreed.
think it's either Cincinnati or Baltimore at this point for that divisional spot. On to the AFC South. The Texans have an over under win total of 9.5. I think that is actually pretty low. Do you think the Texans
Agreed.
offensive the over under on the win total? Do you think that's one of the best bets you can make out of the NFL?
Yeah. I love it. I don't understand why they're undervalued. I mean, hey, I call me crazy, but I'm a little bit higher on CJ Stroud this year. I think that, maybe this is what he needs, but we talked about this before. They don't even need CJ Stroud to be that good of a quarterback. That defense is so absurdly elite. It doesn't matter. And, I mean, I'm not going to act like getting David Montgomery was like a big splash, but at least you've got another running back too in that running back room.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love it. I would definitely take the over on the Texans win total.
Yeah, it seems like David Montgomery's kind of like that classic. In baseball, it's kind of like the innings eater. Like David
Yeah.
Montgomery's kind of that like carrier of the ball, like where he just kind of like he takes he's like a RB
Yeah.
a 1B kind of to Woody Marks in that running back room. But even if
Yeah.
the offense does not take a step forward next year, and CJ Stroud does not hit his prop, which in my opinion is egregious at 3,550
Yeah.
and a
Agreed.
half. It's really
Agreed.
high. I think
That
the
is
Texans
way too
still are
high.
guaranteed to have about 10 wins every single year, thanks to how legendary their defense is. I mean, Will Anderson Jr. and Daniel Hunter can both be defensive player of the year if they wanted to. Derek
Yeah.
Stingley's a monster. Jalen Petrie, the
Oh
Guardian
my
Cats
gosh.
legend, is so fun to watch. Zizou Sayer,
Yeah.
he plays dirty sometimes. Very good. Henry Toto, a thumper down the middle. The Texans got Katie McDonald in the draft too. Like this team is just so fun on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah,
I think it's going to
agreed.
guarantee them about 10 wins every single year of the D'Amico Ryan's tenure. Last year, I thought they wouldn't get 10 wins when they started like 0-3 or 1-4, but they proved me wrong and they won like 12-5. But on to the Indianapolis Colts, who themselves had a big collapse starting the year, I believe 6-2, but then falling down to 1-7 and missing the playoffs entirely. Daniel Jones prop was not provided. Their over/under win total about 7.5. Jonathan
Interesting.
Taylor's got about 1,225. But this is an interesting question. Since Daniel Jones did not have his player prop provided, where would you be comfortable putting Daniel Jones' passing prop?
Honestly, I would say about 3,500 yards, 18 and a half touchdowns. I mean, what he showed us last year was phenomenal. And the stretch he did, he was essentially he almost had his best season last year, and he didn't even play all of it. He was right there. But I am a little bit curious as to why Vegas is so low on Indy with their total being at 7.5. I feel like it might be a little low. I don't know. But yeah, that's where I'd put Daniel Jones passing prop.
Yeah, I actually agree. I think Daniel Jones, if he hit the nail on the head, I'd honestly be comfortable putting him around like 3,600. But 3,500 seems pretty reasonable because I don't think Daniel Jones has ever crossed
Yeah.
3,500 in his career, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, he's never crossed that mark in his entire career. So it's a bit of an
Right.
ambitious prop when you look at it in a career schedule. But like last season, he was on pace to get about 4,000 if he were to stay healthy the entire
Yeah,
season.
easily.
And the Colts
Yeah.
had 8 wins last year, and they always have 8 wins in the Shane Steichen era. So I think they 7.5 is kind of an egregiously low pick, and I actually think they
Agreed.
could make the playoffs with this
Yeah.
group with this roster. Because like Tyler Warren, 750.5, like he's better than that. He could be the number one tight end in the league when looking back on all this. So
Yes.
the
He's
Colts,
so slept on.
yeah, the Colts are egregiously underrated in my opinion, and especially Daniel Jones. But on to
Agreed.
the Jacksonville Jaguars. Their over/under win total about 8.5. So Vegas expecting some sort of regression from them. Trevor Lawrence is about 3,750.5 passing yards, a little high. But there's no
Mhm.
rushing or receiving props
Yeah.
in the team. Travis Etienne is gone, and the receiving room was kind of a hot mess last season. But out of the group of wide receivers, who do you think is the favorite to lead the team in receiving yards this next season?
I'd say Parker Washington, honestly. But I think the fact that we're having this conversation about Jacksonville, dude, they're letting their future run away right now. It's really annoying to see a team that kind of came out of nowhere last year and made some heads turn. Really, really could have beat that Buffalo team and
Hmm.
advanced in the playoffs. But my gosh, man, 8.5 wins honestly makes me feel like this should be replaced with the Colts because it feels like it's just kind of Trevor Lawrence and friends on that offense.
Yeah, they didn't really insulate him well in the receiving room. I mean, Myers definitely broke out last season, but there's not really you would say like a wide receiver one in that room anymore.
Yeah.
It just shows how disappointing Brian Thomas Jr.'s
Yeah.
campaign was last season. I really don't know what happened with him. I mean,
Agreed.
he looked like the complete package in 2024. In 2025, he only had 707
Yeah.
receiving yards last season. I mean, it
Fell
was
off a
just
cliff,
like
man.
it was awful all around. I mean, it wasn't even just like Trevor Lawrence not giving the ball. It felt like a loss of mobility there. I can
Yeah.
see you picked Washington among the team to lead the team in receiving yards. I'm actually gonna put BTJ. I think he has a bit of a bounce back
Interesting.
season. Maybe approaches around 1,000 yards. It might not matter for Jacksonville in the grand scheme of things. I definitely could see them taking a step back. Year two of Liam Cohen, but I do expect Brian Thomas Jr. to come back. Maybe even Jacoby Myers could lead that room as well, which is going to be very
Yeah,
weird to
that's
think
not crazy to
about.
say.
Yeah,
Yeah.
very strange. But on to the Tennessee Titans, who are dealing with probably bigger problems in Jacksonville. Over under win total about 6.5, which is actually only one lower than the Colts, which is crazy to think about.
Yeah.
Cam
So
Ward,
weird.
yeah, I know, right? It's actually pretty nuts. Cam
Yeah.
Ward is about 3,250 in terms of passing yards. Tony Pollard, Carnell Tate, probably their leading receiver and running back. What's your favorite prop out of the bunch, Grant?
I don't really like any of them, to be honest with you. I mean, Carnell Tate, maybe I'm speaking out of line here, but I feel like that might be a little high. 775 for a rookie. I do know that he's supposed to be the X factor, so maybe that'll come back to bite me. Um, But I don't know. I just haven't, to be honest with you, I haven't really watched enough Tennessee football for me to have a good take on this. I feel like their win total is a little bit high. I'll be honest with you on that. But this team's going to need a few more years to put it together still.
I think if anything, at least the Cam Ward passing yards is pretty doable. Last season he had 3,169, had about 15 touchdowns, so I think that's definitely doable, especially in a Brian Dable offense. It's been the Tony Pollard one too.
Yeah,
Like, he had 1,000 yards last season. I can see him getting 775 because like I don't know if
yeah,
Tajay Spears is going to live up to the hype.
good point.
Unfortunately, they got Katron Allen in that room, or no, it was Nick Singleton. They got the other Penn State guy. But I'm interested to see how Carnell Tate performs as well, because the Titans drafted him over several other major contributors in that defense under Robert Saleh. Carnell Tate is going to be an interesting look at wide receiver. Is he going to break? Is he going to break all of the narratives that he is a draft bust on this spot? He's an egregious pick. That's going to be a very telling statement of whether or not Cam Ward goes over or if the Titans go over on their win total, in my opinion. But onto the divisions, there is nobody that is in the negative. So every team, it's basically a pick 'em to win the division. Texans, I guess, are the favorite. They are plus 110.
Yeah.
The Jaguars are plus 245. The Colts are plus 380. And the Titans are at plus 800. Are the odds makers right in thinking the division will be close this season?
Yeah, I'd say so. I really do think it's a coin flip between I feel like Jacksonville and Tennessee are a little bit overvalued, though, I'll be honest with you. I don't like Jacksonville sitting higher than Indianapolis just because I don't know. I mean, they regressed so much this offseason with their moves. They didn't particularly draft amazing, and they absolutely crapped the bed in free agency. And then for me, Tennessee at plus 800. I mean, I understand that this division is going to be close, but do we really think that Tennessee is going to split with Houston? I don't know. I
I
don't
actually think so.
I'm not very I don't like that at plus 800. But I do think it's gonna be a close division, definitely. It always is.
Yeah, it always seems to be. But I don't think this year is going to be actually. I just think that Houston is like above and beyond everybody in this division. I think the Texans would probably be my favorite right
Yeah.
now, and I think they'd be like a very high favorite just because you've seen them year after year get 10 wins, 11 wins. Like they had 12 last season. They keep improving as a team. Whereas Jacksonville and Indy, I'm a little bit concerned. I'm a little bit more like there's a little bit more concerns about their forward trajectory. Like, is Jacksonville just a fluke, or are they actually going to be this good next year with a much more difficult schedule? Is Indy going to get a full season of Daniel Jones, and
Right.
are the good draft picks going to really pan out? And is Sauce Gardner Jr. going to pan out? Like, we saw him completely fall off the map last season. He was supposed to be like their big trade deadline acquisition. They ended up giving up the 16th pick for him. So I think that there's a lot more uncertainty with Indianapolis and Jacksonville, whereas Houston is a big certainty, in my opinion. So Houston's probably going to win. I think in me, I would pick Houston to win the division. So as we wrap up the AFC South, let's go on to the AFC West. And usually this has been Kansas City's territory, but this division kind of flipped on its head. Now the Denver Broncos are the reigning AFC West champions, and they made it all the way to the AFC Championship, but unfortunately they suffered an injury to Bo Nix. I believe it was like a high ankle sprain, maybe a big ankle injury. So he has no passing prop. The Broncos over-under win total is at 9.5, which is actually not the highest in the division. J.K. Dobbins, Jalen Waddle, and Cortland Sutton are there to greet Bo Nix when he comes back. But which one of these bets in the player props looks the most appetizing, Grant?
To me, I like J.K. Dobbins at 675 and a half rushing yards. I would definitely go with the over on that. Obviously, this is a guy that his main issue is going to be staying healthy. But if he can do that, I mean, there's no reason in the world he shouldn't have 700 yards at least. He's a very talented back. And I could definitely see with, the injury of Bo Nix maybe affecting his mobility for a little bit in the first half of the season, them being a little bit more on the run game.
Yeah, I think the J.K. Dobbins bet looks pretty good. He's got 675 and a half rushing yards as his prop right now. The only thing that gives me pause is that RJ Harvey might be able to take the next step next season. And the Broncos have a pretty crowded running back room. I'm actually going to go Cortland Sutton here because Sutton has chemistry with Bo Nix, and at 775 seems pretty low considering I believe Sutton's got 900 yards or more every single season in this Broncos offense, and he is exactly what Sean Payton would want to have as a number one receiver. Yeah, he's gotten over 1,000 yards each of the past two seasons. The lowest he's gotten in the past five seasons is 772. So I think that's a pretty familiar bet, even with Jalen Waddle in that receiving room. On to the Kansas City Chiefs. Their over/under win total is at 10.5, which is one over the Broncos, despite missing the playoffs last season. There's no Patrick Mahomes prop. We're still seeing him recover from a torn ACL. Kenneth Walker's got a 925.5. Kelsey's got one for Kansas City as well. But the Chiefs with a pretty high 10.5. Patrick Mahomes, no prop. Where would you be comfortable putting Patrick Mahomes' passing prop, Grant?
Man, honestly, this guy, even at his absolute worst, is still a top three quarterback in the league. Still
Yeah.
might be number one. I don't care if he was not producing last year before his injury or even the year before. That Kansas City offense hasn't really been the same over the last few years. That being said, I still see Patrick Mahomes. I mean, 3,900 yards, 25 and a half touchdowns. But I don't hate the fact that Vegas is high on Kansas City. There's no reason to. I mean, they would go out and get Kenneth Walker. I do wish they would address the receiving room a little bit more. It's still an issue there. And we talked about this. It did seem like Stephon Diggs might have been the perfect guy to go there at the one. But yeah, I mean, I see Patrick Mahomes still having a fantastic season at least.
Yeah, Patrick Mahomes last season was the only season that outside of his rookie year, where he didn't have over 4,000 yards. So I think, yeah, 3,900 passing yards is perfect for Mahomes. I'd even go a step further to say that I'd be comfortable betting it if it was 4,000 or maybe
Yeah,
4,100 for
I don't
Mahomes.
see why
Going
not.
5.5 as well. Yeah, this team is definitely due for a bounce back with Eric Bieniemy now calling the shots instead of Matt Nagy. I think Kenneth Walker is going to be a big part of this one, so I'd even go the over on him at 925. And even Travis Kelsey, too. That seems pretty friendly. I mean, all these bets look pretty friendly for Kansas City. Outside of, let's see if the 10.5 hits, but Kansas City, I think, should still be a playoff team next season. On to the Raiders. They probably aren't going to be a playoff team with new head coach Clint Kubiak. Their over/under win total at 5.5 definitely suggests that, and they're plus 532 to make the playoffs. Mendoza's got pretty low odds, pretty low player prop in my opinion, but 2,300 at about 12.5. Brock Bowers about 900.5. Is there money to be made with the Raiders here?
You know, I'm actually not very comfortable betting on Mendoza, even though his line is at 2,300 yards and 12 and a half touchdowns. The reason why is we all know that Kirk Cousins is going to be the week one starter. This has been made clear by Clint Kubiak. There's never been really any confusion about this. Kirk Cousins was going to be that guy, and he just signed an extension with the Raiders, or I guess signed a contract with the Raiders. That makes me feel pretty comfortable that this guy's going to be their week one starter and starter throughout the year, barring any injuries. So I just don't feel comfortable betting on Mendoza because I could see a world where Kirk Cousins plays semi-decent. I say semi-decent, but not horrible, and doesn't give a reason to give up the starting job to a rookie who could definitely benefit from being on the bench. Another thing that I've been seeing a lot is Brock Bowers has looked phenomenal in camp. There's been a lot of buzz about him. He took a step back last season, but his rookie year was still absolutely phenomenal. It feels like these tight ends are coming out of nowhere at rookie years and keep shattering the rookie tight end record. But Brock Bowers at 900 and a half, I'm just a little bit scared, even though he's definitely going to be their biggest weapon offensively, at least through the pass game. I do kind of feel like 900 and a half is still a lot considering the step back he took. We don't know if it's going to be another Laporta situation where we just don't get that level of production immediately at the gate after that sophomore slump.
Yeah, I totally get that too. And considering how porous the Raiders' passing game was last season, it was pretty bad. I mean, no receiver on the team crossed 700 yards last season. Trey Tucker, the
It's
highest with
ridiculous.
696. I mean, I guess you're banking if you're getting that bet of 900 and a half receiving yards, you're basically betting on Brock Bowers to repeat his rookie season. I just think that's a little uncertain with Kirk Cousins and Fernando Mendoza at quarterback. I mean, Kirk Cousins has chemistry with Clint Kubiak. They worked together at Minnesota, but I just don't know how that is going to translate to the football field next season. I think I'd maybe take the Genti one, 975. That was exactly the amount he got last season, and he got it on
Yeah.
3.7 yards per attempt. And the offensive line for the Raiders was really bad last season. It was Pete Carroll's son who got the hire, and it was just a typical nepotism hire that just didn't work out, similar to
No.
any of Don Shula's kids. But yeah, I think that Ashton Genty at 975.5 seems pretty light on Genty. I think he can get over that personally. But on to the Chargers. Their over-under win total about 9.5, the exact same as the Denver Broncos. McConkey at 875.5. Grant, do you think any of these player props or the over-under look particularly friendly to you?
As for the over/under, I could definitely see the Chargers winning 10 games next season.
Hmm.
That's a very talented roster. That's got, so much upside, especially offensively. And then as for the player props, Omari and Hampton's currently sitting at 925 and a half rushing yards as his line. I know that everybody and their mother is talking about Omari and Hampton having that breakout season, and I'm sure that Vegas is looking at that. But still, I'm going with my gut here and saying I think he could be a 1,000 yard rusher. I'd be willing to make that bet. Lad McConkey at 875 and a half. That could work considering at this point he seems to be one of the most volatile weapons on that offense. But I like Omari and Hampton at over 925 and a half rushing yards.
Yeah, I really like that Lad McConkey player prop because Mike McDaniel is now the offensive coordinator of the team. McDaniel always gets his wide receiver ones to shine. We saw how good Tyreek Hill was in 2022 and 2023. Even Jalen Waddle was pretty good for some stretches in 24 and 25 as well. So I really like this prop for McConkey. I think he's very consistent. Last season was a struggle for him. I don't know if it was due to injury or not, but he only had 789 yards. He's probably due for a sophomore slump, but I think he gets right back on track. And that 875 looks pretty friendly to me. I think he could get over 1,000 on this one. And same with the Chargers at 9.5. That seems like a pretty decent over-under
Yeah,
win total as well. But on to the division talk. The Kansas City Chiefs are actually the betting favorites to win the division. The Chargers not very far behind them. The Chiefs at 160, the Chargers at 190. The Denver Broncos not far behind the Chargers at 225, and the Las Vegas Raiders on the outside looking in at plus 2,000. Are the odds makers right in thinking this will be a close division this season, Grant?
definitely, without a doubt. This is a Chargers team that is only a few pieces away from being a win now team. Kansas City is still absurdly talented, and that Kenneth Walker addition is going to be absolutely dangerous for that offense. As for the Denver Broncos, you're coming off of your best season since Peyton Manning. It the defense is just absolutely ridiculous. I mean, all of these teams are in a win now mode, in my opinion. So I don't see a way this division isn't close.
Yeah, I agree. But I'd probably only bet either Kansas City or Denver. Kansas City, I think, has the ceiling to be that division winner. They were in the Super Bowl 2024. They've been constant Super Bowl champions since Patrick Mahomes has been under the saddle. Last season, obviously, they had a lot of close losses, but I think that as long as Patrick Mahomes is your quarterback, you're guaranteed about 10 wins, save from last season. And the Denver Broncos, they made it to the AFC Championship last season and their defense is still elite despite losing at least a couple guys. Their offense should be better with Jalen Waddle as the wide receiver one over there. Their running game should be good, and their offensive line is still stellar. I just probably want to bet the Chargers right now. I don't think
Fair.
that they have the ceiling to be the AFC West champions. And if they do, it's probably going to be a pretty weak division. But the Chargers, a very high floor, low ceiling kind of team, especially with changes at both coordinators. But that wraps up the AFC. Going on to the NFC side at the East, some pretty interesting talk here. Starting off with the Cowboys. How about them Cowboys? Their over/under win total about 9.5. Vegas is expecting a bounce back from the Dallas Cowboys, and that goes to show with their player props. Prescott's got a 4,000.5 yard player prop and 27.5 touchdowns. Devontae Williams expect to get over 900 yards, and both CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens expected to go over 1,000 yards as well. This seems like a pretty brass bonanza for the Cowboys from Vegas. But
Yeah.
which one of these Cowboys bets do you feel like are the most overvalued, and which one's the most undervalued?
Speaking I'll start with over. Dak at 4,000 and a half. Look, the guy is an absolute machine. He is when you look at his stats, you realize that there's a few quarterbacks that have been as consistently high scoring as Dak. And this team's offense was just an absolute workhorse last season. But with 4,000 and a half yards and 27 and a half touchdowns, that is essentially assuming Dak Prescott does not miss any time whatsoever. I just, that's a little bit high for me, knowing that Dak has dealt with some injuries in the past there. As for the most undervalued one, I actually think that this one's hard because I even feel like the Javante line is not not a small line for a guy who's been thrusted into the RB1 position more recently. But maybe George at 1,050 and a half yards. I could see George Pickens breaking out a little bit more here, but man, Vegas is very high on this Dallas team, at least this offense.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the George one probably like a 1050. He had 1,429 yards last season. So, I
Yeah.
mean, that's probably the one that I go to. But if Dak is hurt, which he's been hurt every other year
Yeah.
since like 2020, he's had a long-term injury every other year. So when Dak is hurt, this offense really suffers. Even with like, I mean, I guess their backup is Joe Milton, the quarterback.
Right.
They didn't really
Yeah.
invest
Solid
in a good
backup, but
backup. And even when they've
yeah.
invested in a good backup like Cooper Rush or Andy Dalton,
Right.
it really still hasn't changed that much. You know, it really, you never know what you're going to get with this Cowboys offense. And even the
Agreed.
over-under win total seems a little bit high at like a 9.5, because like I could see this team being mediocre, 9-8, or like 8-9, even though last season they looked like around a playoff team. None of these bets look very good to me outside of maybe George Pickens at 1050. But on to the Giants, their over-under win total at 7.5, despite new head coach John Harbaugh leading the way. They've got a plus 265 to make the playoffs. No props for Scadaboo and Neighbors since both of them were hurt in the middle of the season last year. But Jackson Dart has won. He's got 3,100.5 and 19.5 passing touchdowns. 3,100.5 is passing yards, by the way. Malik Neighbors coming back. What do you think Neighbors' stats look like after a season-ending injury last season?
I'm not I'm not touching him financially. That was an absolute nasty injury, and every single report we've seen from Neighbors has not been good. I really do hope that he can bounce back and be the same player in his career. But as for this season, I would try my best to not bet at that. If Scadaboo had a line, I'd be a little bit more comfortable betting on it, considering that the reports from camp is it seems like he's being thrust into that RB1 spot too. But I would kind of avoid Neighbors trying to look at Neighbors stats in general because I there's no saying he's going to be the same player this season.
Yeah, I mean that over/under win total at 7.5 looks appetizing with John Harbaugh as the coach. You know,
Mhm.
he's never had he's only had a couple seasons every now and then where he's had below 7.5 wins. But when you look at like the talent level in the Giants, like outside of that front four, there really isn't a ton to write home about. I mean, Jackson Dart is entering a sophomore season. You could see a sophomore slump there. And Cam
Right.
Scadaboo, he plays like with a lot of contact. He plays a lot of physicality in his game, and that could lead to some injuries down the road. And yeah, you mentioned it. Neighbors may not be the same after next season, and he might have to be the guy now that Wan'Dale
Right.
Robinson signed with the Titans. Although Darnell Mooney should be a good compliment for him, but it just doesn't seem like the Giants have the talent level right now to capitalize in John Harbaugh's first season. On to the Eagles, who have a lot of talent, and Vegas definitely recognized that. They have a 10.5 over/under win total on the Philadelphia Eagles. Jalen Hurts has a passing yard, rushing yard, and passing touchdown and rushing touchdown prop. I assume it's because of the tush push and because of that kind of offense. Barkley has
Yeah.
got 1050, and Mekhi Lemon, the rookie wide receiver, at 675.5. Do you see the Eagles living up to the 10.5 over/under win total, Grant?
Yeah, I do, honestly. Looking at their schedule here, you play Washington, Tennessee. Your first hard game is Chicago, prime time at Chicago, Monday Night Football. I could see that being a problem considering Chicago stole that game last year on Black Friday. Then you turn around, you play the Rams, you play a regressing Jacksonville team, in my opinion. And then, I mean, other than that, besides your yearly matchups with Dallas, and the game against Seattle and San Francisco, I'm not really seeing anything in the Houston game. I'm not really seeing anything that the Eagles couldn't triumph over. I don't see the Eagles getting swept by Dallas. I see them splitting at least. I don't see them, dropping a game to Pittsburgh in week 11. And I could very well see them stealing a game against a team like Houston, who has the pieces on defense, but just can't get it together on offense. I mean, this Philly defense is still extremely dangerous. And even though I honestly I find it kind of comical that this team is so good and Jalen Hurts' passing yards line is at 3150. I
Yeah.
mean, this is it says a lot about this system. But I don't know. I mean, I don't see them dropping, that San Francisco game. It seems like San Francisco can kind of be their Achilles heel at times, especially after last year, that playoff game where San Francisco was running out their third string everythings and somehow still stole that game. But I don't know. I mean, I could very well see them winning 12 games this season.
Yeah, I was surprised to not see a Devonta Smith player prop, considering, I mean, I would probably value him. I might even value him as the number one receiver on the team,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
depending on how Lemon goes. But I think the Eagles' offense should be improved this season, actually. I mean, that might be a hot take, but Kevin Patullo was really holding his team back with his play calling. It
Definitely.
was just so bad on the offensive side
Stale.
of
It
the
was so
ball.
stale.
Yeah, and they won games strictly due to their defense down the stretch, and it showed against San Francisco last season. But they have a very easy schedule this year, and I think the offense should be better even without AJ Brown, replacing one Lemon with another and Makai Lemon. I think Makai Lemon could really live up to that draft type that he had. He might be the best receiver out of this class, despite being tiny. I think he could still hang as a boundary wide receiver too. So I think the Eagles could easily live up to this 10.5 over under win total with their easy schedule. On to the Commanders, their over under win total at 7.5 as well. Same with the Giants. I guess probably because of their schedule as well. Plus 235 to make the playoffs. Jaded Daniels expect to get 3,200.5 or more at least. 21.5 passing touchdowns. But if Daniels hits over his passing yards and touchdowns, do you see the Commanders going over that 7.5 over under win total?
It's definitely doable. The schedule is not impossible. You actually have quite a few kind of stealing weeks. Like you play Arizona week 12, Tennessee week 13, even Cincinnati week 11, depending on how things look with Joe Burrow next season. But I don't know. I mean, I am not really confident in the depth that this Washington team has. I think that the Jaden Daniels injury was kind of a catalyst for bigger issues, which is the fact that this Commanders team did absolutely nothing to build upon that NFC Championship team. We kind of learned that the hard way last season, where when Jaden Daniels went out, that team was just a dead horse, and they were honestly kind of a dead horse before then. So it is 7.5. I think them winning 8 games is obviously, not out of the picture. But I just am not super confident in this team in general, outside of Jaden Daniels. Jaden Daniels, obviously being a phenomenal player and had that phenomenal season, but I don't like Washington that much, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I think Washington is just relying too much on like free agents to really shore up the defense, which was a
Right.
disaster last season. I think like Rasul Douglas might be one of their starting corners, and he's solid, but like he has issues with ball traction, and I think having him as like one of your starting corners, maybe a boundary corner, could be a really rough go. I don't like their safeties either from Washington. I just don't think their drafting has been great over the past couple seasons outside of Jaden Daniels and I mean I guess Terry
Right.
McLaurin from the old regime. He's joined by Stephon Diggs, but yeah, I don't.
But even then, I mean, that contract is starting to look worse by the day. And
Oh
this
my
line at
gosh.
9.5 receiving yards, I would not be comfortable taking the over on that.
Yeah, and Washington's pass rush. I mean, even with Caleb on Chase on, I don't think they're going to be that good. So I think that Washington's going to kind of be like a kind of a tire fire, especially at the
Right.
end of the season. You get at Minnesota, at Jacksonville, and versus Dallas at the end. You have to play Cincinnati. You have to play versus Houston. Go on the road.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know, man. There's some stuff. There's some parts of it that are friendly, like they get played versus Philadelphia, but they do have to play against the Rams at home, and then that beginning stretch of the season's pretty rough too. So I don't know. Washington, I'm not really touching that over under win total for them. On
With
to
you
the
on that.
division race. The Eagles at 115 are the favorites to win the NFC East, which would be their third consecutive time. That really never happens in the NFC East.
Never happens. Yeah.
Yeah, the
That's weird.
Cowboys. Yeah, I think the Eagles, them winning the division twice in a row, that was the first time that happened since, I believe, the
Like
2000s
forever.
or the
Yeah,
early
it's been
2010s.
forever. It's
Yeah,
been
so
forever.
that, oh my gosh, it never happens. But they're favorites to win it again. Dallas at 235 is a little bit further behind. The Commanders at 460, pretty outside shots. Same with the Giants at 600. Grant, is this division two-team race between the Eagles and Cowboys, or do you think the Commanders or Giants can make some noise in this division?
I don't. I don't like. Honestly, I didn't like the line of 7.5 from New York. To be honest with you, I'm not that confident in this Giants team. I'm not confident in Dart staying healthy, and I don't know. I'm not very. I mean, this roster, it's not there yet. I'm not saying that it won't be there, but it's not there yet, and things are getting a little bit more exciting. But I don't think we're at the point yet where we're winning 8 games. I think we might still be a 6-win team in New York, depending on how the injuries go. And like I said with Washington, I'm not I'm not fond of this Washington team. So yeah, it's gonna be a 2-team race between Dallas and Philly. And I mean, I actually have liked what Dallas has been doing after the Micah Parsons trade. So maybe that defense is gonna be a little bit better this season and we can get a little bit more out of them.
Yeah, I think the only way the division is not, I think it might be one team race, and I think it's Philadelphia's to lose. But I think the only reason why I think Dallas will win the division is if Philadelphia underachieves next season. Like we see Lemon not being the guy, we see maybe Barkley get hurt or somebody in that offensive line. That would be the only reason why I think the Eagles would not win the division. I trust in Sean Mannion, even if he hasn't called plays before. He's running a Shanahan style offense, which is something that the Eagles have desperately needed with Jalen Hurts at
Yeah,
quarterback. They
definitely.
need like look at how good Brock Purdy's been doing in San Fran. It's because Kyle Shanahan's been calling plays for him. I mean, not to dismiss the guy, but it's definitely helping in
Oh,
that.
it's a quarterback friendly system. Let's be honest. There's a reason
Oh,
why you get
100%.
Jimmy Garoppolo takes you to a Super Bowl. Like
Yeah,
it's not crazy
seriously.
to say that.
Yeah, my goodness. But I think the Eagles are the favorites to win the division by a long shot. I think Dallas, they did improve a lot on the defensive side, but they still have a little while to go. Like, do we see Caleb Downs be that guy in year one? Quinnen Williams, you get a full year of him, but who's going to step up in the edge rush room for Dallas? Is it going to be Malachi Lawrence or Donovan Ezekairu? I don't know how the Dallas Cowboys get that much pass rush. So I think the Eagles are the ones winning the division. And then hot take, they may be the only one I think to get 10 wins in this division too. But it's definitely not going to be the Commanders or Giants.
Yeah,
On
I'm
to
with you
the
on that.
NFC North, yeah. On to the NFC North. The Chicago Bears were the winners of the NFC North last season. It's crazy to think, but the
Yeah,
Bears, their over under win total of 9.5. So Vegas maybe thinking that it's a bit of a fluke. They're actually at plus 110 to make the playoffs. So they're on the outside looking in. Caleb Williams expect to get 3,575.5 yards. I think most Bears fans trying to bet 4,000 yards for him since
yeah,
they haven't gotten a 4,000 yard passer yet. But there are props everywhere on this Bears team. There's DeAndre Swift. DeAndre Swift has two of them. Luther Burden has one. Romo Dunze has one. Colston Loveland has one as well. I'm surprised I don't see one from Kyle Monangai as well. But
right, right.
are there any props for this Bears team that do you feel like do there any props to this Bears team that you would take personally?
Yeah, I actually think that Caleb Williams at 35, 75.5 is a little bit low. I know that he obviously was a little bit under that 4,000 mark last season, but Caleb Williams is I don't want to say accurate because that's not really the right word because he actually has a low completion percentage, but he's not an interception prone guy. And I think that we were starting to see Ben Johnson take the training wheels off of that system last season. I mean, I could totally see him being a borderline 4,000 yard passer again. I don't know if Caleb Williams regressing is going to be the biggest problem with this Bears team as much as it is maybe things just not swinging as much their direction as they did last year. But I don't think that has anything to do with Caleb Williams at 35, 75.5. I'm taking the over on that. Maybe 24.5 touchdowns. Maybe I'd consider I'd be a little bit more weary of that, but I don't think this might not be Caleb Williams MVP, season per se, but I still think he's going to definitely improve from last year.
Yeah, it feels like Ben Johnson really has this team locked in, especially in the offensive side. Like Johnson has always been a wizard at calling offensive plays, and so
Yeah.
I think that his system is very friendly as well. So I think that Caleb Williams will do just fine. Yeah, 3,575 yards is pretty low, but also pretty low. Romo Dunze at 800.5.
Yeah,
Only reason
true.
I can think that his number is that low is one that he was hurt last year, and another is that they have Luther Burden as well and Colston Loveland. But Odunze showed flashes of being a number one receiver last year before he
Definitely.
suffered an injury. And after that, he was kind of like a non-factor, but it seemed like he was playing through injury as well. So I think that Romo Dunze could easily hit even over 1,000 yards Yeah, I think that Romo Dunze could be 1,000 yard receiver and maybe Burden as well with 850.5 receiving yards as well. But on to the Detroit Lions, Ben Johnson's former team. Their over-under win total is at 10.5, which is around the same area as the Bills and the Ravens, which you covered earlier. Only one
Mhm.
below the Rams. Lions about negative 210 to make the playoffs. Jared Goff, I think this is probably the highest prop that I've seen in this group. 4,050.5 yards for Jared Goff. Jahmyr Gibbs expected to have over 1,200 yards. Amon-Ra St. Brown expected to have over 1,200 yards. Jamison Williams expected to have 900.5 or more. Is the Lions over under high after missing the playoffs last season?
I don't want I don't 10.5. I'm kind of split on this one. I do think that this Lions team, for some reason, there's just been a lot of the thing that people have been saying about the Lions, which I really disagree with, is that their window had already closed. And I obviously understand that you had all of the coordinators you could possibly want. That Lions team kind of reminds me of the Super Bowl Falcons team, where like you look back at that coaching tree and you're just like, my gosh, how could you have it any better? That being said, outright of the coordinator situation not being where it was before, but my God, you have Jahmyr Gibbs, RB2, maybe RB1, maybe RB3, wherever you put him, he's up there. Jared Goff, who, dude, probably the most underrated quarterback in the league. Let's be honest. This guy's just been an absolute machine ever since he's joined Detroit after, I guess, his, first year there. 29 and a half touchdowns is where his line's at, which is ridiculous. But then you look at his stats and you realize this dude is like a perennial 4,000 yard, 30 touchdown quarterback. I don't know why Vegas is specifically had them this year, but I don't know. It's kind of hard to tell. My gut wants to say the Lions are going to be this team that can definitely spearhead the division, but also 10.5 is kind of coming out of nowhere for me. I'm really split on this one.
Yeah, it's pretty high. I mean, and maybe they're obviously expecting the Lions to have a bounce back season after last season. The Lions went 9-8 last year, and I think it obviously wasn't because of the offense, it was because of the defense. And I
Right,
just don't know if that I just don't know if they've really been able to fix that on the defensive side. Like I don't know if Kirby Joseph or that safety duo of Joseph and Branch comes back. And there's still the secondary concerns we had last season. I mean, they signed DJ Reed to be that number one corner, and he had a rough season for Detroit. Maybe he bounces back, but outside of that, Terry and Arnold, they had to cut him because of his
right.
off-field shenanigans. I don't know if the secondary really comes back to form as well. Uh,
Yeah,
but
definitely.
these offensive numbers look pretty reasonable. I mean, Jared Goff at 4,050 is pretty. He's never had over under 4,000 yards in a Detroit Lions uniform in any season. So that's definitely something I would take. Same with the 29.5, but the over-under win total for the Lions definitely a little bit high to me, especially considering the competition in this division. Like the Bears and the Green Bay Packers. The Packers have an over-under win total of 9.5 or negative 16, negative 116 to make the playoffs. Jordan Love at 3,500 yards and 24.5 touchdowns. There's no Josh Jacobs prop. But the Packers seem to have a pretty uncertain receiver room. Christian Watson, the only one with the prop. Who ends up leading the team in receiving yards this season, Grant?
Dude, I don't even know. Like Tucker Craft, bro. I really have no idea.
Maybe.
I don't understand why this is like a common problem with NFL teams where it's like you get almost every piece and then you just decide that you don't need a receiver. And it takes them years. It takes them years to figure it out. Look at Buffalo. I mean, look at Kansas City right now. How is this always a problem? I don't understand. And then you look at the other teams in your division. You've got Chicago, who have like three guys fighting for the one spot. You've got Detroit, who has JMO's line is at 900 and a half as wide receiver two. And they have Jahmyr Gibbs, who's also a good receiving back. And then you go to Minnesota, where they have the best receiver in the league at some point, and then also a phenomenal wide receiver too, and also an insane talent. Like, what is going on with Green Bay that they just can't get it together with their receiving room? I have no idea. I legitimately have no idea.
Yeah, it might be Matthew Golden. It might
Yeah, it might be
legitimately
that.
be first round pick Matthew Golden leading the team in receiving yards last season. I mean, Romeo Dobbs was leading the team last year, and he's now on New England.
Right.
Obviously, they had
They
injuries.
traded their wide receiver two, who was a wide receiver one for them. Like they just have three wide receiver twos.
Yeah, it's always a joke, but it's always a joke that gets airtime. Like the Packers having a bunch of wide receiver twos. I mean, Jaden Reed could be
Right.
the number one wide receiver for the Packers, and I nobody would be surprised about that as well.
Right.
So
Nobody
it
will
really
beat Kraft.
isn't anybody. I don't know why they put in Christian Watson as the only
Right.
person with a prop
With a
because
prop.
it's probably more likely Kraft, Reed, or Matthew Golden if he lives up to his
Yeah.
potential, which he
I
really,
think it's just the injury with Kraft that they're not giving him a line yet, but yeah.
yeah, it definitely makes sense. I mean, he had 6 touchdowns last season as well. I mean, maybe I would bet the over on touchdowns he gets, but
Right.
it's just like it's a pretty big shame because like if they had better receivers, I think the Packers could end up being better, having better odds of winning the division, but they just don't. I mean, the
Yeah.
Lions have the best over/under win total out of this group. On to the Vikings. They have an 8.5 over/under win total, so not there that far off from the Packers or the Lions. No passing prop for Murray or JJ McCarthy. I don't know why they're still debating on who the starting quarterback is. I think most of us know, but maybe they don't. No rushing prop for Aaron Jones as well or Jordan Mason. And Justin Jefferson, the only Viking of the team with a player prop. He has a 1,150.5. The Vikings, how do you feel about the Vikings over under win total this season?
8.5, I'm actually not that comfortable with. I think it might be a little bit high.
Hmm.
I'd be more comfortable with 7.5. I mean, Kyler Murray, his biggest issue has been staying healthy more than anything. And also, let's be honest, he's not really been his same self for the last few years outside of that. It's just, it seems like he's a step behind. It really seems like his game is not aging well with him over time. And do not even get me started by JJ McCarthy. I'm not even going to brush over that. But I could definitely see this Minnesota team starting to fall apart throughout the season. It's not that crazy to me that they only win 7 games. I don't know, especially when you're playing Green Bay twice a year, Chicago twice a year, Detroit twice a year. I don't know. I'm not very high on this Minnesota team, but who knows? Kyler Murray could go out there and make a splash, and they do have so many weapons. It just to me feels like Minnesota found a way to win. Was it 7 games last season?
They won 8 games last season.
Eight
Actually,
games.
they won
Yeah.
9 games last season.
When it seemed like they just like it just happened on accident. You know what I mean? It was like Max
Yeah,
Brosmer beats Jared Goff on Thanksgiving. It was like,
right.
what is going on with this team? Like, it doesn't. It seemed like they just stumbled upon 9 wins, and I don't know if they're going to be that lucky next year, even with Kyler Murray.
Yeah, it's crazy. Max Brosmer had 51 passing yards in that 23 to 10 win
Right.
against Detroit as well. I still have no idea how they were able to do that. So I guess like
Yeah.
the 8.5 over under win total, I mean, that's the highest I've seen without a passing prop for a quarterback. Uh,
Right.
it really is just, I guess, dependent on this defense, which I don't know if they really like improved on that side of the ball, really, which they didn't really need to. But I don't know. I don't see the 8.5 being very friendly for the Vikings, especially with having to face, Detroit, Green Bay, and Chicago 6 times a year. I don't know how many they win out of that group unless they somehow are able to get Detroit's Achilles heel in Christmas again. But the division talk is just overall just a complete hurricane right now. It could change at any moment. Detroit is currently in the lead at 170, but Green Bay is not far behind them at 225, Chicago at 305, and Minnesota at 510. Grant, which one of these bets do you think looks the best?
I mean, Chicago at 305. I understand that this team is the highest candidate of regression, but you won the division last season. You won a playoff game too against the Green Bay Packers. Give me Chicago Bears at plus 305, third favorite to win the division after winning it last season. I would take that. That's to me the best look. Again, not saying that I think they're going to win the division. I think Detroit. I don't know actually. I really don't know. All these teams have weaknesses. These top three, they're all great teams, but they all have glaring weaknesses that could come back to bite them. I mean, Chicago at plus 305 for me.
Yeah, I think that Chicago obviously looks like the best bet, and I think they should win. I think they could win the division for sure. I mean, I would
Right.
definitely, I might favor them with Detroit to win the division, honestly, just because
Yeah,
their
it's not
schedule is
crazy.
pretty easy down the road. I mean, they have to play at Miami and at Buffalo, but then they go versus Green Bay versus Detroit and at Minnesota. They do have a
And are you
stacked
really worried
division.
about at Miami? Like,
Yeah,
I'm not.
nobody's worrying about at Miami, and they play in the
Yeah,
cold. The Bears play in the cold anyway as well, so I could definitely see
right,
them upsetting Josh Allen in Buffalo's new park. So
right.
like I don't see that. I don't see a problem with the Bears' schedule at all. And I don't see why people are projected in the regress, even after like they obviously won so many games last season due to just like one score games, but I think those one score games can turn into like two-score games for Chicago. That's how a team improves. And Ben Johnson, I think, is that guy. I really trust in him. So yeah, I think the Bears are the best bet to win the division. I think they do. Maybe the Packers, but I just don't know if the receiving issues and the
Yeah,
inconsistency of Jordan Love there. But on to the
agreed.
NFC South, probably the toilet division this season.
Yeah,
I don't think any one of these teams has a over under win total at 8.5. Don't going to spoil it. Yeah, the Bucks are the only one that has one at 8.5. The
Buccaneers.
Falcons have the worst over under win total out of the bunch at 6.5. Plus 225 to make the playoffs. They have no props for Penix or Tua. That's probably a big reason why. Bijan
Mhm.
Robinson at 11,050 and Drake London at 1,100 receiving yards. Uh, and Kyle Pitts has a prop as well at 72.5. I know you've mentioned about how Kyle Pitts is a top five tight end. So is
Yeah.
this the best bet to make out of the ones for the Falcons?
Yeah, I say Kyle Pitts over 725 and a half. Yeah. Why the hell? I don't understand. I mean, you're also in Stefanski's system who loves tight ends, loves 13 personnel. Give me Kyle Pitts over on that, and then give me the over on the win total for the Falcons. I know that, might be a little bit controversial, but I see us winning 7 games. I think that Tua might be a little bit undervalued. He's a very accurate quarterback, and Stefanski's very favorable for these it's a very quarterback favored system. So I like over on the win total. That's 7, maybe 8 games. And I'm not saying we're going to win 9 games per se, but Cal Pitts at 725 and a half is maybe one of my favorite bets on the table in general.
725 and a half. But yeah, Kyle Pitts, that number looks like
Yeah.
money right there. I mean, considering what he did last season. I honestly would take this Bijan line as well. Like 1,150 rushing yards without Tyler Algier. Now with Brian Robinson, who, no offense, is nowhere near Tyler Algier's handcuff abilities there. It's money to me there too. And the Falcons over under win total at 6.5. I mean, are you kidding me? They had 8 wins for 2 seasons in a row with Raheem Morris at the helm as well. And they haven't had under 6 wins since the 2020 season. I mean, say what you will about the Falcons, but that over under win total is disgustingly low, in my opinion. I wouldn't probably
Agreed.
bet them to make the playoffs, but 6.5 wins, they can easily get 7 wins or more. Easily, in my opinion.
Yeah, agreed.
I mean, it's crazy that it's lower than the Panthers, who have an over-under
Right.
win total of 7.5 and a plus 235 to make the playoffs. Bryce Young has a 3,000.5 yards prep, and Ted McMillan has a 950 as well. I mean, are any of these bets worth taking, in your opinion?
Uh, I, I actually, I don't know. Maybe McMillan at 950 and a half might not be bad. But I think Bryce Young is another candidate for regression. I don't understand why the Panthers fans think that they got their team after winning 8 games and making the playoffs and still losing in the playoffs, even though it was a good game against the Rams. You're no different than any of us. And yeah, I mean, I'm not really. I'd say McMillan would be my pick, but I'm not super high on Bryce Young, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I'm not super high in this offense in general. Like, I mean, their offensive line, they're dealing with injuries as well. Apparently, Ikem Ekwonu out for a little while. Taylor Moton's out for a while too. Like Xavier Leget's dealing with an injury. Like Chris Brazzell just suffered a season-ending
Right.
injury over there. And in the running game, you lose Rico Dowdle, who had 1,000 rushing yards last season, and Chuba Hubbard had only 3.8 yards per carry last year. So I definitely see candidate for regression there. And Bryce Young at 3,000.5, it seems intentional because Bryce Young always hovers around that area anyway. But I I wouldn't take any of these bets. Maybe like the under on the over-under win total for the Panthers. This feels like a disaster of a season waiting to come up. But overall, just feels very criminal that they're the exact same over-under win total as the Saints, who I think have a much better outcome than the Panthers at 7.5 and a plus 180 make the playoffs. I'd definitely take that personally. I mean, I guess you're looking for sophomore slump from Tyler Shuck, who has 3,450 on his passing prep. But they have Travis Etienne, excuse me, almost said Travis Etienne. My apologies to him. Chris Olave and Jordan Tyson to throw the ball to. I mean, the Saints, this over under win total at 7.5 seems friendly, no?
Yeah, I like it. I like the over-under. I also kind of like Shuck at 3,450 and a half. It's funny to me that it's almost 500 yards above Bryce Young. Saints fans, this is showing you how bad Bryce Young of a quarterback is. Tyler Shuck played what, 6, 8 games last season?
He played
Uh,
11, but yeah, he played
11? Well,
he played
yeah.
like 11 games, yeah.
Still, this guy has not even played a full season. That was Yeah, dude. I mean, come on, this is hilarious. I don't mind that one. I could see him. Actually, yeah. I don't know. I could see that happening. Other than that, the win total would be my favorite. I'm not particularly um I don't like Olave at 1050 personally, and Jordan Tyson, maybe could have if he could stay healthy, could break that 750 yard mark. But yeah.
Yeah, I'm not really a big fan of any of these bets, honestly. I mean, Tyler Shuck had only about 2,384 yards last season, only about 216.7 yards per game last year. So, I mean, and he's a big candidate for a sophomore slump as well, considering he was a bit of flash in the pan last season. Travis Etienne, 850, he's splitting a backfield with Alvin Kamara, which is never easy. Olave at 1050, Jordan Tyson at 750, they're both injury prone as well. I don't know. I just feel like things should be coming together for the Saints, and I think this over/under win total at 7.5 is pretty promising. They should get at least 8 wins, in my opinion, and they should be a candidate to make the playoffs. I mean, the only thing that would be stopping them is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, in my opinion, who have an over/under win total of 8.5. Baker Mayfield, with his holdout, is still expected to get over 3,500 passing yards. They still have Igbuka. They got in Ted Hurst in the receiving core, but they do lose Mike Evans, and they also lose Levante David. Grant, is the Bucks over under win total a trap?
Yes, 8.5. I think that the Buccaneers are going to be the worst team in the division. I really do.
Really?
I do. I'll be honest. I think they're going to be the worst team in the division. I think they are on a completely different trajectory than all three other teams. I think that Atlanta, New Orleans, and Carolina is on an upwards trajectory. I think those teams are only going to get better. I think the Buccaneers are only going to get worse from here. I'll be 100% honest with you. I think the season's going to blow up. I think Todd Bowles is going to get fired. I think that Baker Mayfield's going to get traded. If not, he's just going to get straight up released into free agency more likely. Yeah, I don't. I'm not high on Tampa Bay at all. They're aging, it feels, in so many different ways. Baker Mayfield's hitting the point in his career where he's at a crossroads where he's not young, but he's not quite, at the point where he's an old veteran and he needs an extension that most guys probably got 2 years ago. But you still really haven't gotten enough of a season out of him to say that he can take you to a Super Bowl. It's an entire. It seems like all moving parts of this team are on different places, different timelines. I see it blowing up, man. I don't see them winning 9 games, especially. I think they're going to win 6 games, and maybe I'm crazy, but I think they're going to win 6 games.
I mean, no, you're not. I mean, I was thinking the Panthers would probably be like this last team in the division just because of all the injuries that are going on over there and the
Yeah,
fluky nature that they got those wins last season. But I could definitely see the Bucks falling apart, especially since this is a make or break year for Todd Bowles. Like, what if the Bucks just don't show up defensively without Levante
yeah.
David
They
too?
completely fell apart last season. Completely fell apart.
Oh, they
There's
did,
no way
yeah.
they're not going into the season with any momentum. Imagine this. Imagine you have an absolute chokehold on the division. Your entire team falls apart. You miss the playoffs somehow because the Atlanta Falcons stun you at your home. And then you proceed to go into the offseason where your star defensive tackle, tells you that he wants a trade, and then your quarterback is outright calling you out for not extending him. Like there's no way this is going to work out for them. It's a complete blow up.
Yeah, it just feels like right before a tidal wave, man. And the running
Yeah,
game too. Like you lose Rashad White, who
right.
wasn't the
Exactly.
best, but now you have to rely on maybe an injury-prone Brucky Irving in that running
Right.
game as well. I mean, they have like I guess a couple young pieces in Hurst and Ruben Bain, but this just feels like the beginning of a rebuild for Tampa Bay, and this is, I think, going to be the year that they start going down that
Yes.
road. And they've kind of needed it since Bruce Arians has left and since Tom Brady has left as well. They've
Agreed.
always been around mediocre. I mean, they've always been the meme for winning the NFC South. Very
Right.
weak division, but I
For
don't I
one
don't like
game
the
every season.
direction this team is going.
Me neither.
But on the division, I mean, I guess Tampa Bay is the favorite to win it at 164. New Orleans, the bet at 265 is at second. Carolina is third, and Atlanta is fourth. They're all pretty close in terms of odds to win it. Are there any of these bets that you'd be willing to take?
Was there any that I'd be willing to take? No. If you told me that I had to take one, I'd take New Orleans at plus 265. But I would not be willing to take any of these because I don't think it's that much of a long shot to say that Atlanta could win the division too. But I'm so unconfident in all of these teams. So I'm like, there's no confidence in any of these teams, which kind of in a way puts you confident in all of them. So no, there's not a single one I'd be willing to take.
Yeah, I mean, genuinely, you can make the case that none of these teams are in the top 20 right now,
Yeah,
which is
literally. You
crazy to
you
think
could make
about.
the case that all of them are going to be worse in the division, and everybody would agree with that take.
Yeah. And the Saints
Even
just
your
dealt with
own
an injury to
fans.
Brian Bracey, too. Like, yeah, I
Right.
mean, I don't think
Their own
any.
fans would agree to it. I think Carolina fans, Tampa Bay fans, New Orleans fans, Atlanta fans could all say, if someone said, you're going to win the division, we say, yeah, maybe. And if you say, you're going to lose the division, you're going to be last, you'd be like, yeah, maybe. I could see that happening. It's that bad.
Yeah, they're like leaps and bounds worse than most of the rest of the NFL. I mean, I guess I'd pick the Saints out of this group to win the division, but like, I don't know. I don't think anybody in this division will have a winning record in the next
Yeah,
season,
straight up.
which
Straight
means
up.
that one of them at least will. But it's going to be such a really a disaster, I think, the NFC
Yeah.
South. They're desperately in need of some front office to run away with this division. And I don't know who it's going to be. Maybe it's Atlanta too at 425. Like
Yeah,
that is an interesting bet to me as well.
that is. It might be worth purely taking that just purely from the fact that, the odds are not as much in your favor as I think that they legitimately are.
Right, right.
I
But I
mean,
mean,
425 isn't even that crazy of a line either.
no, it's not. I mean, the Vikings have 510 to win their division, and like they're better than the Falcons for sure. They just have like much bigger competition over there. But yeah, I mean, none of these divisions, none of these I'd be willing to take in the NFC South. But onto a much more competitive division, the NFC West. I don't think a lot of competition is going to come from the Cardinals. They have an over-under win total of 4.5 and a plus 2,000 to make the playoffs. I believe that is like the lowest odds by about $1,000. So yeah, the Dolphins have 1,500. So yeah, it's the lowest by about plus 500 as well. There's no passing prop on the Cardinals because we don't know if Brissett's going to be there the whole season. But a lot of props for the skill position players. Jeremiah Love has one. Marvin Harrison has one. Trey McBride has one as well. I mean, there's a lot of optimism in the skill group. Is there any point in taking any of these bets in your opinion?
I do kind of like McBride at 950.5, just because McBride was consistently the main target last season. And it kind of seems like that's been the case for him his entire career. It really feels like he's the most reliable guy to give the ball to. But other than that, dude, do not take Jeremiah Love. He's probably going to be RB2, maybe even RB3. They were talking about James Conner getting touches in camp the other day. Like, there's no point. Marvin Harrison, who knows? This dude could have a 400-yard season. The dude could have a 1,200-yard season. I have no idea. I have no idea with him. So McBride at yards would be I would definitely consider taking that one. Other than that, no. I
Yeah,
wouldn't
Marvin
even consider
Harrison's
him.
a big wild card in my opinion. I think like I was watching deep dive in the Cardinals just earlier. Harrison, like he he seems like he has some of the skills to be that like AJ Green comp that he got out of college, but he just never was able to put it all together. And training camp is definitely worrying. I want to see what he looks like in the preseason. Obviously, you got to see what he looks like in the regular season too. But I mean, he was dealing with appendicitis last season and still got 608 yards. So 825 doesn't seem particularly awful for Harrison. But yeah, the Trey McBride one definitely looks promising. McBride seems like one of those tight ends that's going to be the undisputed number one next season. I could definitely see that happening, especially with Tucker Kraft going down, George Kittle aging out. Just same with Kelsey and Laporta, not really getting a lot. The Cardinals over on a win total 4.5. I'd probably go maybe lower in that too. But on to
Yeah.
the Rams. They have the best odds. They have the best over under win total, the highest one at 11.5. That is, I think that's tied with the Baltimore Ravens or just one over the Baltimore Ravens, but they have the
I think it's
highest.
tied.
Yep, it is the highest. Matthew Stafford at 3,825 yards as well. Kyron Williams, Puka Nacua, and Devontae Adams have player props as well. Grant, what is the best bet out of this entire group?
Actually, I don't really like any of these, to be honest with you. As
Yeah.
crazy as that sounds. I'm not we were talking about this earlier. I'm not really the kind of guy who watches his receiver have a crazy breakout season of, being essentially what Puka had last season and say, okay, well, now I'm confident that he's going to do that again. I don't like going over on 1,375.5 yards for Puka is where the line's at. Devontae Adams, I honestly would go under on 775.5. The guy is more of a goal line guy who really hasn't been in 1,000 yards receiver since his time in Green Bay. No, maybe in Vegas.
I think he's been in
But
Vegas, but yeah, it's like
yeah, I don't like 775.5. I think he had 770 last season, if I'm not mistaken, or somewhere around that point. Matthew Stafford, it's just too hard to tell with a guy's age that, maybe that production starts to go down a little bit. Maybe he's still one of the best quarterbacks in the league, but 3,825.5 and 29.5 touchdowns, especially where I'm just a little bit weary. And Kyron Williams, I mean, 925.5 is still kind of high when you have this good of a passing threat. So I maybe would say under on Devontae Adams would be my favorite bet, but other than that, I don't really like any of these lines.
I actually would say Kyron Williams in 925 because over the past
You
three
like that?
seasons, he's had over 1,000 yards. Even in 2023, when he played just 12 games. I mean, the only thing I guess, is like a long-term injury with him, but he's one of the best running backs in the league.
Yeah,
So I think that 925 is pretty promising. But outside of that, I probably wouldn't make a bet on any of these, especially the over-under win total for the Rams. I mean,
yeah,
they look like the best team in the
fine.
league, but
Yeah,
they have to get 12 wins to get over on that, on the over-under.
yeah. It's just too high. It's not worth it financially to make a decision like that. Like obviously, they're gonna be one of the best teams in the league, but at 12, 13 wins, 14 wins, it's like it gets to a point.
It does get to a point, especially when you have teams like the 49ers and Seahawks
Yeah,
competing
in
with
your
you.
division.
49ers are similarly expected to be a very successful team at
Yes.
10.5 on their over-under win total. Brock Purdy, Christian McCaffrey, newly acquired Mike Evans and George Kittle all have props. I guess Raheem Morris is coaching the defensive side, is expected to pan out. Which one of these bets looks like the best, Grant?
So first off, Chris McCaffrey's at 900.5 rushing yards. I actually, I would definitely go the over on that. I think McCaffrey's totally capable of being a borderline 1,000 yard rusher this season. Definitely. And then Mike Evans is at 815.5 receiving yards. I don't see a world where Mike Evans is getting under that. I think he's going to be 1,000 yards, which is obviously not that crazy to say considering, you had the infamous streak for a while there. But yeah, so I like Evans over on yards, and I do like McCaffrey over on rushing yards.
Yeah, I don't really like the Brock Purdy bet at all because he suffered an injury last season, and
Right.
I mean outside of 2023 and 2024, he's never really he hasn't gotten over 3,775. And even in 2024, he had just 3,864 as well. That Christian McCaffrey one looks interesting, but I'm kind of wary on that one as well with McCaffrey's injury concerns
Yeah.
just in general. The same with Mike Evans. He had only 300 yards last season, which is crazy to think about, but yeah, he only had
Yeah.
300 yards.
I know.
So, I mean,
Crazy.
he probably should get around 850 receiving yards. If he stays healthy, he should get over that. Like if he stays healthy the whole year, but the Niners always known for having nagging injuries as well. And we'll see how that plays out in the next year. 10.5 seems a little high for me in the over and win total, especially competing with the Rams. And now the Seahawks. We get to the Super Bowl champion Seahawks. They have a 10.5 over under win total. Sam Darnold has a passing prop of 3,600.5 yards, and Jackson Smith and Jigba, the only other player with a player prop at 1350 as well. Oh, boy, season. Do you think that Seattle is underrated by FanDuel, Grant?
I do actually. Well, no, actually, I take that back. I don't. I'm sorry. Um, I don't because let's even look in division here. How much better the Rams got this year is it cannot be understated. Seattle lost their Super Bowl MVP with Kenneth Walker going to the Chiefs this year. And other than that, I don't really think they made kind of more parallel moves. They drafted all right. They were, obviously had the ability to kind of draft whatever they needed. But with the Rams adding the additions that they did this season, with fixing their secondary and also, of course, Myles Garrett and soon to be Aaron Donald, I don't know. I mean, I could see them getting swept by them. And 11 wins, 10 to 11 wins doesn't seem that out of the picture to me for Seattle.
Yeah, I think it's just around right where I put them, unfortunately, with the Rams and the 49ers in that division. I mean, even though they won, I believe they won 14 games last season as well. But Seattle, I mean, 10.5 seems about where I'd put them. Just because of the toughness of their schedule. Obviously, they have to play the Rams twice, the Niners twice. They have to go at Philadelphia, at Dallas, versus Dallas as well. But on to the division. The Rams are expected to win it at 100. Seattle is expected to win. It'd be very close 205, Niners at 305. Which one of the Rams, Seahawks, and 49ers would you bet on for the division?
I'm definitely going with the Rams here. I think anybody would agree with me on that. And the Arizona at plus 10,000 is funny to look at, but I don't know. I mean, yeah, Rams at plus 100 would be my bet, without a doubt.
Yeah, I'd probably do the exact same thing with the Rams. They just seem like the best team in the league. But on to the NFL awards. Let's go to NFL MVP. Josh Allen, currently the favorite to lead it, with Lamar Jackson and Joe Burrow not being that far behind. Grant, who is a favorite for you and who is a dark horse for you?
My favorite is going to be Lamar Jackson, which I mean, yeah, I do. I really even have to explain that. He's at plus 850, by the way. And then my dark horse, I'm gonna have Dak Prescott for the MVP at plus 1400. I mean, if the dude is slinging it like he always does and stays healthy, and he can get that 4,000 yards and 30 touchdowns, it really might be enough this season.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you on the Lamar Jackson pick. That's my pick to win MVP this year, just outside of Burrow and Allen. And then Patrick Mahomes is going to be my dark horse. Mahomes has always been contention for MVP when he's healthy, and last season he should have been, if not for an ACL tear and the Chiefs being awful last season. But on to the Defensive Player of the Year. Myles Garrett, Will Anderson, and Aiden Hutchinson are the three favorites over there. Grant, who is your favorite and dark horse for this one?
My favorite's it's gonna be Myles Garrett. Just coming off of that sack title, most sacks in a season of all time. Yeah, he's at plus 400. I think that's not crazy to say that. And then my dark horse is actually TJ Watt's at plus 3,000, which is kind of crazy to me. TJ Watt's kind of coming up on a big season for himself. I think that it's not that crazy that he gets shopped on the market after this season. So maybe this is kind of more of a prove it season, but plus 3,000, I kind of like that.
Yeah, I mean, TJ Watt is got the candidates, got the ability to be Defensive Player of the Year. But in my opinion, so does Fred Warner at 4,500. Always underrated due to the fact that he plays linebacker, and linebacker is always considered the running back of the defense. But Warner really
Mhm.
does set that 49ers group together, even with Nick Bosa being a very talented defensive end as well. But my pick is going to be Will Anderson to win this award here, at least via bet. Offensive Player of the Year is Jahmyr Gibbs, Bijan Robinson, and Jamar Chase. All of those three are the favorites. But Grant, who is a dark horse for you?
So my dark horse is going to be AJ Brown at plus 4,000. Depending on how this New England system treats him, he might have an absolutely phenomenal year. And then as for just my regular favorite, I like Bijan Robinson at plus 900.
Yeah, I mean, my choice is going to be Jahmyr Gibbs. He's basically going to have the chains broken free from him with the not having the shared carries with David Montgomery, which that system's
Right.
very efficient. But now Gibbs has basically got the running back field all to himself. And then I'm going to pick another running back for my dark horse, Jonathan Taylor at plus 2,000. I think he's going to have a big season if Daniel Jones stays healthy. And even if he doesn't stay healthy, I think Taylor could definitely
Yeah.
take the load
Good work.
offensively, and he's going to have a very big year. He has OPOY candidacy as well. I think he was the number one running back in 2022. But let's go on to the offensive rookie of the year. Jeremiah Love, Fernando Mendoza, and Carnell Tate are the three favorites as well. But Grant, who is somebody that you think is undervalued in this offensive rookie of the year talk?
We're talking undervalued. I got to go Zachariah Branch at plus 10,000. A guy
Yeah.
who's after his time at camp, I mean, it really looks like he's going to be wide receiver two on our team. Definitely going to be on our starting roster. And I would even, yeah, I mean, yeah, plus 10,000. Give me Zachariah Branch.
Yeah, I mean, this was made before the Commanders signed Stephon Diggs. So I originally had Antonio Williams here at plus 3,000. He's probably going to have a big role in Washington as a slot receiver, and he could be pretty undervalued here as well. But yeah, Branch being at plus 10,000 is absolutely
Yeah,
insane. I
it
don't
is
know how
insane.
nobody's under Williams in this regard. But on to the defensive rookie of the year, Ruben Bain, the favorite to win it, behind ahead of David Bailey and Caleb Downs. But Grant, who's again similar to the offensive rookie of the year, who is somebody that you think is undervalued?
Well, I hate to keep bringing in dirty birds here, but Avion Terrell at plus 7,500 is kind of crazy to me. It's a guy who's also supposed to make an impact on the field immediately. Although I just will say, I mean, after what we saw last year, it seems pretty obvious that there you kind of have to be on a good team for you to get noticed as much as I think Xavier Watts was kind of robbed in a sense,
Yeah.
and even JPJ, two guys who were just absolutely making such a difference and just did not, besides being a finalist, get much praise outside of that. So Avion Terrell would be my dark horse, but again, I wouldn't be surprised if the fact that he we're going to win 7 games next year doesn't affect that.
Yeah, I mean, arguably JPJ should have run Rookie of the Year last year, but for me, it's probably going to be Akeem Messidor for the Chargers. Messidor is going to provide a big role as the team's maybe number one edge rusher for the, and I love the way that Jim Harbaugh in the Western Michigan, the new defensive coordinator for the team, is going to be able to use him. I also think Cassius Howell should be mentioned in these conversations as well,
Yeah,
just because of
definitely.
how big of a role he's going to have in Cincinnati. But on to Coach of the Year, John Harbaugh, Jesse Minter, and Kevin Stefanski are the favorites here. Grant, who's your pick?
It's Jesse Minter. For Coach of the Year, you're looking at a team that's going to bounce back, have a quick turnaround. And I think the most likely team to have that turnaround is definitely going to be the Ravens, who literally have the best quarterback in the league and two-time MVP, or maybe it's, yeah. So I don't see how Jesse Minter doesn't win that, to be honest with you. Unless, unless maybe Harbaugh or Stefanski rallies their teams to a 10-win season.
Yeah, it seems like Coach of the Year is more about like a trendy pick versus like the actual best coach in the league with the best
Right.
record. But you probably do need to have 10 or more wins, and I think Jesse Minter has the candidacy to get over 10 wins. I mean, Ravens definitely are very highly valued by Vegas, and I think Jesse Minter and that team lives up to it too. I think that plus 850 is probably what I'd bet for him. Let's go with our last segment of the show, our cards. So we get to pick five bets. One of them is a team over under. There are two player props, and there are two award picks as well. So it's going to be a total of five on our card. I'm going to start. I have the Texans hitting their over as well. I believe their over under is at 9.5 this season. I definitely have them hitting the over. They've never had under 10 wins in the D'Amico Ryans era. Kyron Williams at 925.5. I'm also going to hit the over on that. And Vlad McConkey is going to be another player prop at 875.5. He's going to have a big year with Mike McDaniel. But for the awards picks, I'm going to have Offensive Player of the Year Jamar Chase at valued at plus 1,000 and MVP Lamar Jackson favored at plus 850. Grant, on to you.
All right. Well, so for me, for my team prop, I'm going to go with Tampa Bay, which is under at 8.5. I'm pretty adamant about how much I hate that Tampa Bay line. And then at 2 for my player props, I've got Hampton, Omarion Hampton. I like his over on the yards there. I really think that this is going to be his season. Same thing with J.K. Dobbins. I have his over on yards as my other player prop. I think if J.K. Dobbins can just stay healthy, there's no reason that he should hit that benchmark. As for my two awards, I like Myles Garrett as Depoy and Carnell Tate as Offensive Rookie of the Year. Yeah, that's going to be my card. So guess we'll have to see if those end up panning out for us.
Indeed, but it's a great way to start the season anyway. But thank you guys so much for tuning in to the Gritz Blitz podcast. As always, make sure to check us on Spotify, on X, on YouTube, on TikTok, and on Instagram. Grant is providing great coverage on that. Be sure to follow me at Owen Strikes Out on X and at Owen Hillman, C Hillman on Instagram, and at Owen Hillman Broadcasting as well. Be sure to follow my brother on Instagram as well. But anyways, thank you guys so much. We are excited for the 2026 and
Yes, it's
2027.
finally time.
Yeah, we got some more coverage in college football and an NFL coming up. But in the meantime, rise up.
Rise up.